learned to fly.
Yeah, Bill.
Larry, you'll do our invocation for us?
Our Lord and Father, we come before you with praise and thanks for the ability to gather together today in fellowship and service. You use this food now to strengthen us to what you called us to as Lions members. Being ever mindful of those that are blind and in need of sight. However we might help them. For other ways we can help in our community in service and gratitude for all that you bless us with. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Mike will do the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sharon.
My country is of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. When where my fathers died, and of thy pilgrims tried, from every mountain side, let freedom ring.
Bob, do we have any guests back there?
Yes, we do. 2 guests. Joseph Govednik, our speaker, brought to us by Kurt and Marilyn. Thank you. And Allison Moyer is back with us. All right. Hey! And that's all that signed in.
Okay. Harry, we're going to do, is everybody doing the trail twisters this morning?
Yeah, just a second. Yes, they are.
Okay. Let us see.
Bridges.
President Lloyd, Bill Lines, yes, I have $5 to put into the bucket today. I want to thank everybody that worked at the fair in the heat for the 4 days. We did really well as a group. Thank you. Tom the third.
President Lloyd, great name, fellow Lions guest. I put the $3 in from the Zoom meeting 3 weeks ago because I haven't been in attendance. $5, so I'm over my COVID finally, 12 days. This one really kicked my tissue. And also my daughter's coming for her 20th R.A. Long High School reunion this weekend, so I'll get to see her. Thank you.
Lion Skip.
Skipper!
President Lloyd, fellow Lions guests, first of all, I have a thank you $25 for the 25 Longview Pioneer Lions who showed up for the Spirits of Longview and helped make it what it was. Next year will even be gooder. I promise. Yeah. That's the medication I've been taking. It's just making me crazy. But thanks for the card. And we did disconnect the trampoline in our bedroom, so we don't have to worry about it.
He blames it on the medication, but we know better.
How are the ribs? Yeah.
A little spicy.
Next, anybody else? Past District Governor Marilyn.
Ladies first.
President Lloyd, fellow Lions and guests, you know, it's really shocking when your children have birthdays and your baby girl celebrates her 50th tomorrow. We don't want to talk about my age. Thank you. Would you like me to?
And we have past District Governor Steve.
Thank you, young lady. Can we talk after the meeting? President Lloyd, honored guests, and fellow Lions. A very, very happy dollar. This is a first. The first time, yesterday there, I went to see a doctor about my normal aging conditions, and he took me off 2 medications. Can you believe it?
And we have past President John Claypool.
President Lloyd, fellow Lions and guests, I've had an interesting week. Connie let me buy a little puppy, a little Aussie, mini Aussie. Last Tuesday night, he decided he could jump off of our 2.5-foot high bed, broke his back left leg, and it's been pan-delirious around the Claypool residence for a week.
Poor guy. He's right there, he just doesn't have it on. Spirit week. Venmo. I'll give you my Venmo afterwards. And we have past President Cindy Sessions.
Very good. President Lloyd, fellow Lions and guests, first here's my dollar for not dressing in spirit today, because it is the first Tuesday of the month, which is also known as Spirit Day. The other money I have is I have 10 happy, actually, let me correct that, extremely happy dollars. Our daughter is moving from Alaska to Iowa, so they flew into Seattle and they had their cars barged, so we got to see them overnight on Saturday night. So of course that called for the prime rib, the princess potatoes, and the Henry cheese bread because it's been a while. She also brought our 2 grandkids, so it was a wonderful time. Now, John, I have a dog story for you. Now, my gym, animals love them, right? The kids brought down their little 2-year-old dog. Jim got bit on the back of his head and on the palm 2 different times just trying to get the dog to smell his hand.
And he doesn't have a name badge on. I don't know, past anything? Rob's back.
He's past everything, but
He's a new member.
quite a position.
He's a new member, he's only been in 45 years.
King Lion, fellow Lions and guests. Steve, I'm really happy you're feeling better. Greg was also happy that lobotomy is working out good for you.
Next we have Lion Rick Johnson, and I can't see his badge. Yeah, he's a nothing.
King Lion Lloyd, fellow Lions and guests, I'd like to give $3 for the 3 days I worked at the fair. I tell you what, that's a bunch of hard-working people.
Then Rick owes another $1. Then you own 5 for not washing it. Pass zone chair, Terry Woodruff.
Yes, fellow Lions and guests and President Lloyd, just a happy $5 that the fair is over.
Bonnie let you have $5?
No, I stole it. But if you will just keep quiet, you'll never get back to her. At any rate, I want to thank everybody that we worked with down there at the fair. Unfortunately, some of us had to work really hard. Not me, of course. A lot of people did, so I enjoyed it down there.
Got you.
Time out, you want to get Frankie?
Come on over here, Sharon. We got some over here first. Ron Stockler.
President Lloyd, fellow Lions and guests, happy $10. Got my surgery done. They went through my wrist and cleaned out some stuff in my heart and put a new stent in the artery just coming out of the heart. So now I'm pumping blood.
Lion Nick Lemire.
Hello. President Lloyd, fellow Lions and guests, got a happy buck just because I'm happy to be here.
15, 28, 12. Yeah, the main parking is
Past
in
District
behind the
Governor
building.
Jim Reineke.
So that would actually.
King Lion Lloyd, fellow Lions and guests. I'm beginning a happy 30-something days because
11th Avenue.
sometime this month, I don't know when, Eileen will have been my side-by-side chaperone for 113 anniversaries. And then early next month, there'll be 114.
Past zone chair, Ken Botero.
King Lion Lloyd, fellow Lions and guests, I've got two happy dollars. The very first one, I'd like to introduce everybody to our newest member to be, Allison Moyer. She turned in her application today. She's looking forward to really staying busy. My second happy dollar, I have to reflect on a little thing that happened at the fairgrounds this week. We were working at the chuck wagon, and we had a delightful little lady come up to the wagon, and she could not see. She had terrible sight. She couldn't see. She had to feel her way around. I was really heartbroken and taken. Lion Rick Johnson took her by the hand and took her through the line and back to her seat and kind of kept an eye on her while she was going up. Rick, you're awesome. Thank you.
Yes. Lion Bill Hedgewine.
President Lloyd, fellow Lions, yes. I guess it's a happy dollar. I just was released to go back to work yesterday for my right knee replacement, and it's really gone super well. So I'm going back up today to go to work at Fort Townsend, but I'll only be up there 2 more rotations. I accepted a job at West Rock, back where I left after 30 years of working there, and going to go back to the job I left. So by the middle of the month, I'll be back home.
Anybody else? Cheryl Coast.
This first dollar is a contrition dollar for Missing Spirit Day. These days I can barely remember my own name, much less what week of the month it is. The second dollar is, oh, I'm sorry. I'll be a good president, won't I? Yes, hello, President Lloyd, fellow Lions and guests. The second dollar is, what the heck is this for?
We all have one.
Yeah, we do. Oh, I guess I'm just glad to be alive after the weekend we put in at the fairgrounds.
Yeah.
And the third dollar is I'm just happy to be here with all you wonderful, wonderful Lions and our guests.
Anybody else? I guess not. So back to you, President Lloyd.
Where's Kurt?
King Lion, fellow Lions and guests, it gives me a great pleasure to introduce today's speaker. Our guest speaker grew up in San Francisco Bay Area. He's an undergraduate of Southern Oregon University. He's got a master's degree from California State University, Hayward. He's got a master's in museum studies from JFK University in Berkeley. He moved to Longview in 2017 when he took over as the museum director here in Cowlitz County. He previously was a board president of the Washington Museum Association. He was a curator of the Maritime Museum in Tacoma. He's a board president of Heritage League of Pierce County, program coordinator of Tacoma Waterfront Association. He's got lots of activities going on. Currently here, he's Kelso Public Library Advisory Board, St. Rose School Commissioner, and he's married with a daughter here locally going to St. Rose. Would you give a warm welcome to Joseph Govednik?
Thanks, Kurt. Does this one work? Can you hear me? I think I'll have to
use the big mic. Thanks, everybody. It's really a pleasure to be back here again. Thank you, Kurt, for the warm introduction. I'm actually Kelso Lions Club, so I'm affiliated with y'all in one way or another. And so it's a pleasure to see another club, and I see a couple familiar faces out there. But it has been 3.5 years, I think, since I had the opportunity to talk a little bit about the Cowlitz County Historical Museum with this group. In the meantime, in the last 3.5 years, let's see what's been going on. We had a few changes in the world and a few changes affecting the museum as far as our ability for attendance and whatnot. And I'll talk about that very briefly in here, but I'd like to just kind of introduce you all to the museum. We have been open the whole time, except for a few periods of closure during the initial phases of the outbreak, and then there was a secondary, about a 2-month closure about 1.5 years ago that was required by the governor. But the last 18 months we have been open, business as usual. We are free admission, so come on by. Don't just drive by or show up with a relative from out of town and say, I don't ever come here unless I bring a relative in, or I haven't been here for 14 years since I was a child, or something like that. Come on by. We don't cost anything to come in, although we do have a donation basket that we always appreciate if people drop a few dollars in. I get really excited when I see a $20 bill in there. That's not that often, but it does happen on occasion. So what we'll do is we had a little bit of a technical issue setting up, but we resolved it all. But one thing that I'll need is a clicker person that when I say next, if you could just click the space bar, and we'll do a practice run. Let's say next, and then boom, space bar. Okay, there we go. So we are located at 405 Allen Street. Most of you drive by it all the time. We have kind of 2 websites, but the primary website that we're using now, one thing that we took the opportunity during the pandemic to do was to build a website for the Historic Society that would operate a little bit more friendly to the purposes of museum operations, whereas we had a county website that was geared more towards governmental operations. So if you click on the county website, it'll actually kind of divert you over to the society's website, which we have a little bit better manipulation of. So we'll go ahead to the next one, please. We'll hit next. So we are a public and private partnership. We we are a department within Cowlitz County. I'm the director of the museum department. I'm the only county employee that is the museum person, but we have a staff of 3 additional people that are employees of the Cowlitz County Historical Society. So the county owns the building and they take care of the maintenance on it. The society, though, has a lease on the building to operate a museum within, and they own the exhibits, and they're the nonprofit corporation that can do all the fundraising. The nonprofit historical society, for example, raised the funds to build this extension on the building on the front end and on the back end of the building back in 2003, which is what guaranteed a 50-year lease, which we just signed an extension to our lease. It was a 25-year lease with an option to extend it another 25 years. And I just got permission from the county commissioners today to extend that lease. So we will be in that building until 2052. So I don't plan on still working there then, although I do hope I'm still walking around at that time. One of our commissioners commented, he said, "I'll be a century old when that lease is expired." And I figured we could probably have a centennial birthday party for him. We have a little over 300 members on our membership roster, and we'll go ahead and go to the next slide here, because I think I have a few slides. I'm going to try to blast through them a little bit. So what do we do here at the museum? We've got a lot of stuff in there. We've got archives, we've got items in storage, we research collections, we have exhibits, we do programming for both adults, families, and children, and we try to do as much outreach with our community as we can and build relationships with other nonprofit organizations or our local libraries and other groups that would like to work with us to help enhance the enrichment of living in this area. So we are here in the greater Kelso Longview area, and you're thinking, oh, well, what can we do? We've got libraries, we've got theater, we've got parks, we have a museum. So there's lots of things that people can do that help make this place a higher quality of life. And I look at the museum as part of that. Go ahead to the next slide, please. So our permanent exhibits were installed in 2016. I can take no credit for that because that was installed 6 months before I was hired. My predecessor, David Freese, who had been here for 31 years, oversaw the program that took about 5 years of fundraising and development to put our new permanent exhibits in. They replaced previous permanent exhibits that were installed originally in 1989 for the state centennial. And they had a few upgrades, but they were beginning to show their age at the time around 24 years old or so. And so these new exhibits were installed and they're up here to see, and they'll be up probably for another 10 or so years, 15 years with some upgrades, and then eventually we'll probably tear everything out again and start fresh again like this project was. We've had 2 awards, a nationwide award from the American Association of State and Local History, and also one from the Washington Museum Association for excellence in this exhibit. So if you haven't been by, please come by and take a look at our exhibits. I think they're remarkably done, especially when you think about a county museum for a county with 110,000 people. If you've traveled around the state and gone to other county museums, you'll find that this is a pretty nice museum that we have here, something to be really proud of. Let's go ahead to the next slide, please. And then here's a couple pictures of inside the permanent exhibit gallery. Here's the our historic pioneer cabin that has an audio component to it when you push a button. And here's our main gallery there. We'll go ahead to the next slide, please. We have temporary exhibits too. We have a temporary gallery. This is the Centennial of Women's Suffrage exhibit. This one went on right in the middle of the pandemic. Then we put in a Memories of the Lost Landscape, which is a refresh of an exhibit that used to be up at the Hofstadt Bluffs, which was closed in early 2017, where the county had a visitor center there. And this was originally to be for the 40th anniversary of Mount St. Helens, and of course that coincided with 2020, so that was a very more subdued event as well. I'll go ahead to the next one here. So here, one thing, we have lots of objects in here, but objects are just objects unless there's a story that goes with them. So this litter here, somebody brought it in who was part of the search and rescue team during the Mount St. Helens blast, and this was actually used to carry people off the mountain. That hat right there, I got on loan from a fellow Lions member, Jim Zonich, who's a member of the Kelso Lions. That's in his building that he has in downtown Kelso, and he loaned it to the museum. That hat belonged to Harry Truman, and Jim had a hat, or had a shirt that he was wearing that Harry liked, and he traded the shirt for the hat just a week or two before the blast. And so that is an authentic Harry Truman hat, and there's a picture of Harry right here wearing the hat. Go ahead to the next one, please. We also dabbled earlier this year with some artistic exhibits. So this is black and white pictures here taken in Eastern Germany. And Hans Schaffhaus, who is a local artist, he took those pictures, and so we, pardon me? Sufas. I always mispronounce his name, and you guys are welcome to mispronounce my name anytime too. We'll just call him Hans. So Hans is a neat guy, and he and I have been talking about doing an exhibit like this for probably a year and a half, so we decided let's try something a little different, and we put a photographic art exhibit up, and then I suggested, what if we put in some display cases any kind of East German material that I might be able to find from people. So if we go to the next slide here, we've got a chunk of the Berlin Wall. We have some German Democratic Deutsche Republic marks here, some coins. I've got a passport from a fellow who is about my age that was in high school. During the fall of the Berlin Wall, he was on a trip to Germany as an exchange student. It was during that few months of 1990 where East Germany was opened to the west and people could go back and forth across the wall, and there were Russian soldiers and East German soldiers on the other side, but before the unification. So his passport is actually stamped a DDR on it, on the stamp, so it's one of the last ones to have that. And then this is actually my personal collection of nutcrackers that were all made in East Germany, and there's some militaria there. We'll go ahead to the next slide, please. Our current temporary exhibit, and this is our last artistic themed exhibit that's up, there's a local artist that did some landscapes of Longview, some architecture and from the lake, and so that's on display again. We pulled some items out of our collection to augment that. So that's on display right now, but at the end of the summer this is going to come down and we will start working on our Longview Centennial exhibit. We'll go ahead to the next one. So acquisitions, how do we get stuff? What kind of stuff do we get? This is probably our largest item that we got. And Rick, where are you, Rick? Go ahead and raise your hand. Rick helped us with this one. He was able to arrange complimentary towing from Carl's Towing to get this vehicle here, which is known as the Como 4 car. It used to be up at Hofstedt Bluffs, and people remember seeing it there, and then it disappeared when Hofstedt Bluffs was sold by the county, ended up in storage with state parks. And we had it towed down over to Rick's place, and Rick took the wheels off and pulled out the gas tank and drained any other fluids and other items. We were trying to remove the engine, but as Rick was saying, as the engine was coming out, the springs on the front started raising the car up a bit, and it didn't look quite right. So he stopped taking items out of it, and then we'll go into the next one here. So then, how do you get the car into the museum? Well, you do it early in the morning. So this is in June around 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and Rick brought in a flatbed. I talked to the county about getting a vehicle that could help block off the lane, because this is technically a state highway here on Allen Street. I contacted the police chief too of Kelso and just told him what we were doing, and he wasn't too worried about it at that hour in late June. And so we go into the next one here. So we had some volunteers help push the car into the museum over the curb, and then put it into our museum front gallery where it was originally going to be a temporary exhibit, but now it's part of a permanent exhibit. We moved it into a new location because it's just not something you want to move regularly. It's a really tight squeeze between these low walls here. I was afraid we were going to bump into it, so I really don't want to do this again. We can avoid it. We'll go ahead to the next. Oh, by the way, that Como 4 car, you guys all know what that's from, right? The photojournalist David Johnson Ridge was named after David Crockett. David Crockett was the one who was running his camera after the blast. You can see the blackened landscape, and he's talking while he's walking, and he's saying, oh my gosh, I think I'm in hell right now, am I alive? And I remember that when I was a kid watching that footage. Other ways we get items too, and this one, unfortunately, we got the word a little bit late, but when the Wallace School was demolished, they invited us to go pick things out, and I just wish we got there a week earlier to walk through the hallways to see what was there, but we did find a few things amongst the rubble. But this is an example of how some items end up in the collection. We can go ahead to the next one. Then, of course, we have a major worldwide event going on that affects us nationally, statewide, and locally. I contacted the county Health and Human Services and asked if they could save us any materials that are COVID related, vaccine bottles. I've got an injection needle that is unused, some PPE, some other odds and ends that we can use to help document this for a future exhibit and interpretation down the road. Because whenever there's if a disaster strikes, you also have to think about collecting the items when that disaster strikes so that down the road you can talk about that later. When 9/11 hit, there was actually a collection of items that was going on fairly soon afterwards, which is part of what you would find in any memorial or museum that is related to that event. These COVID vaccine cards are in multiple different languages. Unfortunately, you probably can't see it from the way the shot is and from your distance, but yeah, these bottles are really little bottles. We'll go ahead to the next one here too. We also have signs that were up at the event center during originally the testing station and then eventually the vaccination station. We had these up by our back desk office area, but then people would walk into the museum and say, oh, is there a testing station going on here? So we put these away pretty quick because people kept asking what was going on and we were doing some kind of a vaccination clinic at the museum. We'll go ahead to the next one, please. Another way of getting stuff. The Wall That Heals. Did anybody go to the Wall That Heals last year? We, as the local historic society, are the ones that receive the items that people leave at the wall. People often leave mementos and items to people that were close to them or family members or friends at the wall. And this is a picture I took at nighttime. I also volunteered some shifts there, and it was very impressive to see it there on that back field behind the Longview Memorial Park. And we'll go ahead to the next slide. And we picked up a few odds and ends items. We had some photographs of people that were left, a lot of bouquets of flowers, flags, spent cartridge casings. Somebody had left this shirt here just minutes before I came by to take this picture of it, and then I retrieved it later on, some artwork. And somebody even left a marijuana cigarette there too. So that is our first marijuana joint that was accessioned into our collection as part of the mementos people left. But you learn something every time when people bring things in, and this is something I wasn't aware of. Somebody left a note saying, hi Dan, and just a little note, thank you for your service to the country. And it was this Dan Bullock. Has anybody heard of Dan Bullock before? He's not from here. He's from New York actually. But I looked it up. I said, who's this Dan person? I couldn't find, what I did is I did a stencil of the names of everybody that was remembered in one way or another on the wall. If somebody left an item or left a note, I would look on the wall, find the name, I'd rub off a stencil of it, and then I would look it up in the Wall That Heals database to see if that person was from this area or from another area. This guy came from New York, and he is America's youngest casualty in Vietnam. He was 15 years old. He altered his birth certificate when he was 14 so he can go into the U.S. Marines. And then after basic training, he was shipped over to Vietnam and died about a month later during an ambush at a base. And we'll go ahead to the next one here. So here's a couple more pictures of him. Here's the newspaper articles. So it really kind of brings things, even though he's from New York, he's an American who sacrificed his life at a very young age. And that's what the Wall of Heels did to me. It was very emotional, even though I didn't have any family members that were lost there. You just think about the overall impact it has had on so many people in this country. We'll go ahead to the next one, please. So we have a lot of stuff too. You know, talk about acquisitions. Well, then we have to put them in our collections room, and our collections room starts to get packed full. And so here's our archives here. Here's these are all textiles all rolled up. And then if we go to the next one, here's some more archives. But this is what we're hoping to get to. And I received a grant, or we received a grant from the State Historical Society to give us some funding to help get what's called compactable storage units. So instead of having an empty space right here in between each wall or each shelving unit, you only need one walkway in between, and the rest of the walkway space can now be used for storage, and you just roll them back and forth. That'll increase our storage in our largest storage room by about 50%. So we, by signing that lease extension that shows that the society will have possession of the building for a longer period, we were able to, we can now move forward on this project. We'll go to the next one, please. So we are also a founding member of the Heritage Association of the Lower Columbia. There's lots of other little historic societies and groups around here. There's like the Stella Historical Society. There's in Kalama, there's the Interpretive Center at the Port of Kalama. Has anybody been there to see those exhibits? So that's a really impressive place as well. There's actually about 10 or so different heritage organizations in Cowlitz County, but none of them are necessarily communicating with each other. And so we created this group so everyone would get together on a quarterly basis to discuss matters of heritage. And we would sometimes do small workshops on exhibits and collections care, fundraising, volunteer recruitment. We'll go to the next one here. And what kind of programming do we have? We have our First Thursday program. So our First Thursday program does not go on during the summertime, but on the 1st of September, our next First Thursday program starts, which will be focusing on the Reynolds plant that is slated for demolition. And we acquired items from that too before it hits the wrecking ball. Winterfest is our winter Christmas themed program. If anybody was at the fair this weekend and saw the Bush Cabin at the fairgrounds, we operate a program in there. And traveling trunk program to schools and a cemetery tour we've participated in. We'll go ahead to the next slides, which will show some pictures from, this is Winterfest here. This is one of our, this is Archaeology Month for our First Thursday program. We'll go ahead to the next one. These two are from Winterfest. And then here's Squatch Fest, where we use the Bush Cabin again, but this is in February, or no, sorry, it's in January, and it's really cold in there. And then this picture here is Jerry Kelly with his What Is It program, where he has all kinds of unique tools that are from 100, 120 years ago or thereabouts. And you have to kind of determine what is this tool used for. And he did that at the fair at the Bush Cabin last weekend. We'll go ahead to the next one. And there's Danielle Robbins, our educator. She's in the classroom there. And another program is we have a Today in Cowlitz County History program on the radio. And we've had some youth participants in it, and we've really enjoyed bringing the kids. And these are all middle schoolers that have voiced the Today in Cowlitz County History program. And if you want to hear it, it airs around 6:20, around 7:20, and around 8:20 in the morning on KLOG. see, oh, COVID-19, oh yeah, that stuff. Okay, so yeah, we have the normal social distancing, limited entry and all that. We'll go to the next one here. We had some old exhibit cases that were in storage. We just propped them up to make kind of a sneeze guard for our front desk. And there's Vincent, he works at the front desk, and he's sheltered from anybody who comes in. We'll go ahead to the next one. And then if you're ever looking for items, like special something for somebody who's visiting or a birthday gift, local books and items that you might not be able to find elsewhere, pop by the museum shop. If you're trying to find something for somebody and you just don't know what to get them, stop by the museum store. I'm sure we'll have something that can be a treasure to anybody you want to give a gift to or a gift to yourself. And we'll go into the next one. This is the final one here where we do actively collect items. So if you have items as you're cleaning out, let us know and reach out to us. My business cards are on the booster seat baby chair back there on the tray, along with rack cards for the museum and membership forms too. We're always looking, we really rely on membership support to offer the programming that we do. And with that, I don't know if I went over my time or under my time, or perfect, but we can do some Q&A if anybody wants to do Q&A, or if Rick wants to start heckling me at this point. Or
Can you you want Life magazines from World War II era?
Life magazines from World War II era. That's a question I would run by our curator, who would probably be the person to talk to about that.
I have almost all of them.
But if you have all of them, that might be something we would want. And if it's not the right fit for us, there are military museums that might be a suitable fit too. But if you could please grab my business card and reach out to me, if you could come by and talk with our curator and myself, I would be very interested. Definitely, absolutely. Yes.
Perhaps you should have one of the cardboard boats that we have on 4th of July.
Well, the cardboard boat regatta.
Yeah, because Dwayne's really great in designing them, and that's why we came in first 6 years in a row.
Awesome. I've wanted to do that, and I had a few people that work at the county that wanted to do that, and just didn't quite.
We'll donate one for this year.
Really? Okay. Thank you. I have a tiny bit of experience with a similar program called the Quick and Dirty Boat Building Program that was up in Tacoma, where we would use plywood to build a boat, but I haven't built out cardboard yet, so I look forward to that challenge. That would be awesome. I would like to do that.
It's called the Wiki Moola.
Wiki Moola.
Yeah, 4 years in a row.
Wow. Uh-oh, here comes Rick now, strike.
How come you didn't mention me or a sandbag?
Well, I tried to, have a reputation to uphold a little bit, and there's certain people I like to keep distance from, safe distance. What are sandbaggers?
Rick.
I'll see you at the sandbagger lunch on Friday then.
I will get the pictures out.
Oh yeah, pictures. They have got blackmail pictures. Those sandbaggers are pretty cunning fellows.
Yeah, not Kurt.
He conned me into coming here today.
You show the pictures of the big guy?
Precisely. He said, I'm going to show the pictures of you in compromising places, and you better come in here and do a talk, because we have programs that have to run every week. You guys meet. You need people up here on stage. I hear you have 2 local politicians in the queue for the next 2. Any other questions? Any museum or society related questions? Yes.
Indirectly, are Sam and Ray Wardle still involved with the museum?
I'm trying to recall.
There was a time.
Yeah, I've seen his name there on a lot of documentation, but not recently.
As we keep winding down on this, the Pioneer Lions Club is very proud of our membership. I was just wondering, curiosity, do you have a special place in your museum where we can put a statue or a picture of Jim Renegade?
It's a historic artifact.
We could just put another sign on the Sasquatch.
So I will remind you all again, on the baby chair, on your way out, grab my card if you want to get a hold of me. I'd like to hear about those Life magazines. And, oh, awesome, thank you. And grab a rack card that you can share with people that has a little bit of information about the museum. And most importantly, grab a membership paper there. I think they're in bright pink, so you can't miss it. Grab one of those, fill it out, and turn it in. And I think with that, I'll turn it back over to Kurt. Thank you all so much. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you, Jeff. All right, I think you'll stick around for a minute if you have any questions, but I'll turn this back over to the key line.
All right. Get Dwayne Manley come up front. Dwayne. What'd I do this time? Okay, on behalf of the Lions Club International Foundation, LCIF, gratitude for receiving the recognition for the Melvin Jones Fellowship Program. Your new Melvin Jones Link pen is enclosed and urge you to wear it with pride. It will identify you as an ambassador of the LCIF. Bob, are you going to take a step? Oh, okay.
What? Oh, man.
Yeah, that is an Oscar up there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. 355-230. Okay, the red ticket, 477-6428. Cam Botero. White cane. Darlene. Who got the blue ticket?
For the
the back.
5. What did you draw?
A 9. Ken. Okay, and let's see. Louis, announcement.
President Lloyd, fellow line members and guests, we're having cleanup today at the shop, and I really need your help to clean that wagon up, get it ready for Thursday, and clean the kiloboard stuff up, get that ready for Thursday, so I can use all the help we can get. And we're going down tomorrow and pick up our new chuck wagon. And anyway, I really need your help today. Right after the meeting, Steve, right after the meeting.
Cindy, visitation.
President Lloyd, members and guests, we have some visitations in August. I think you saw it in the newsletter. There's a list of them. This Saturday, or this Friday at 11:30 at Fiesta Bonita in Vancouver, the Fort Vancouver people are meeting. And then on Saturday is the council meeting in La Center. And they have a barbecue going on, so it'll be $12. So that's from 10 to noon. So if you're signing up, please let me know so that I can let them know how many of us are coming. Thank you.
That's about it.